It was a cold winter evening, and the snow gently fell around the bus stop, covering everything in a soft, white blanket. The air was crisp, biting, and yet, as the little girl with curly hair stood there, her eyes sparkled with warmth. She wasn't bothered by the freezing cold. She was too busy watching a woman sitting alone on the bench, tears silently streaming down her face. The woman's shoulders shook with quiet sobs, the weight of the world pressing on her chest. She had her arms wrapped tightly around her knees, as though trying to hold herself together. It was clear that she was in pain, emotional pain that had built up over time and now was spilling out in the quiet of the night. And then the little girl, wearing a pink jacket, tugged at her mom's hand and asked a question that would change everything. Before we dive into this heartfelt story, take a second to subscribe, like, and comment below to help spread a little more kindness in the world. You're watching Kindness Lights, where we share stories to inspire love and compassion. Now, let's get back to the story. The little girl, no older than 5, tilted her head, studying the woman on the bench with curiosity. Her mom, a woman with kind eyes, had noticed the woman too. But before she could say anything, the little girl started walking toward her. She looked back once at her mom, who hesitated, unsure of what her daughter was doing. "Mom, I think she needs a hug," the little girl said, her voice soft but sure. With no hesitation, the little girl marched right up to the stranger, whose eyes widened in surprise. She knelt in front of the woman, her tiny hands outstretched. "I think you need a hug," the little girl repeated, her words full of sweetness, a simple offering that could heal a broken heart. The woman blinked, looking down at the child. For a moment, she was taken aback, unsure of how to respond. But then something shifted in her eyes. The weight of the sadness that had seemed so heavy now felt a little lighter. She hesitated for only a moment before leaning forward and enveloping the little girl in a gentle embrace. It wasn't just a hug, it was a connection, a moment of tenderness that reached deep into the woman's heart. She hadn't realized how much she needed it until the little girl's tiny arms wrapped around her neck. In that moment, everything felt right. The cold didn't matter anymore. The snowflakes, falling in soft flurries, seemed to pause in the air, as if the world itself was holding its breath. The woman closed her eyes, letting out a quiet, shaky breath as the little girl whispered, "There, feel better now." The woman smiled through her tears, nodding slowly. "Thank you," she whispered back. Behind them, standing just a few feet away, the little girl's father, a single dad, watched everything unfold. His heart swelled with pride. He had been observing from a distance, wondering what his daughter would do. He knew she was kind-hearted, but this moment was something entirely different. He could see the connection, the simplicity of the act, and how it had made all the difference. He was watching his daughter give something that was priceless kindness. The dad knew that the world wasn't always kind. He'd had his share of struggles, raising his daughter alone after a tough divorce. There had been times when he felt the weight of the world on his shoulders, moments when he was exhausted and discouraged. But now, seeing his daughter's pure, innocent gesture, he realized something important. Kindness, real, genuine kindness, was a power that could heal wounds, lift spirits, and change lives. He smiled softly to himself, feeling a warmth in his chest. Maybe, just maybe, the world needed more of this. The woman on the bench wasn't alone anymore. The little girl's hug had given her a glimmer of hope, a reminder that kindness could shine even in the darkest of times. As the woman wiped her tears away and looked down at the little girl, she chuckled softly. "You really do have a way of making people feel better, don't you?" The little girl nodded with a big grin. "My mommy says hugs are magic," she said with a sparkle in her eye. "And I think they are." The dad, moved by the scene, approached slowly. He knelt down beside his daughter and the woman, offering a smile. "You know," he said, his voice warm, "I think my daughter's right. Hugs really are magic." The woman smiled back, feeling the weight in her chest finally ease. "Thank you," she said, her voice still a bit shaky but filled with gratitude. "I really needed that." As the snow continued to fall around them, the dad wrapped his arm around his daughter, pulling her close. They stood there for a moment, together, the three of them, sharing an unspoken bond. The simple act of kindness had brought them all closer together, in ways they would never forget. And as the little girl turned her face up to the sky, smiling as the snowflakes kissed her cheeks, the dad knew that she was right. Sometimes, all a person needs is a hug, and a little kindness. As the woman stood up and waved goodbye, she walked away with a lightness in her step, no longer burdened by the heaviness she had carried. The little girl waved too, and as her hand dropped to her side, she looked up at her dad. "I think we should give hugs to more people," she said, her voice full of hope. The dad looked down at his daughter and smiled, heart full. "You're right. Kindness is something we can all share." And with that, they walked off into the snowy night, knowing that the world, in all its challenges, could always use a little more kindness. Kindness isn't just an action, it's a force. And when we share it with others, we have the power to change lives. So, today, be that spark of kindness. Who knows? A simple hug could be the magic someone needs. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. Spread the kindness, and remember, every act of kindness, no matter how small, can make a difference.